It's a good win. There's a lot of people. It's like Woodstock, except everybody's got their clothes on.
Don't eat a damn snack.
You're like my wife when you get in space. You just get lost.
Short steps are better than long steps. That's the only time in your life you're going to hear short is better than long.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to 614 Headsets, the weekly sports podcast where we say football is unconditional love. We're three high school football coaches from Columbus, Ohio. We consider our show a movement of this lifestyle, of this great game we love. We're excited to have you join us in this movement we're all about. Boys, say what's up to everybody.
How we doing? Excited to get on here with the boys. The best day of the week right here.
Appreciate everyone for tuning in and hope you enjoy this episode and many more.
Hey, make sure you subscribe to the show on YouTube or wherever your favorite platform is. Give us a like, give us a comment. Follow the show at 614headsets.com and check out the lab and all the fun X's and O's things that we're trying to bring you on there. And we appreciate everybody that is following us. And if it's your first time joining us, we hope you stay with us. All right. Everybody enjoy the show. As we get rolling today, 614 Headsets is proud to be presented by Fundraising. University Ohio offers a variety of fundraising efforts that helps football teams run profitable, effective, and fast-paced fundraisers designed to raise the most money in the shortest amount of time to reach their fundraising goals. Fundraising University Ohio is locally owned, operated, and with their 6-step blitz system will help your team maximize profits. As a current coach himself, Brent Maxwell with Fundraising University will sit down and help you pick, plan, strategize, and execute your fundraiser that will allow you as a coach to focus on your practice time, prep time, player development, and personal time. If you're interested in us running a fundraiser for you, please contact Brent Maxwell at the letter B Maxwell at fundraising.net or 740-501-8946 to learn how you can get started with fundraising. Here we go, 614 Headsets. This is going to be a wild episode. It is a night of firsts. Donnie Mack just got married. Round of applause for my boy, Donnie Mack. Congratulations. Even the wife, Ryan, clap.
No, dude, because
disrespectful. Even the wife changed the name to Mrs. Donnie Mack. Donovan and Lauren, hey, congratulations.
Donnie Mack's honeymoon is literally in his backyard.
I wasn't going to go there, but hey, just a night of firsts. Donovan's gone. We've got a guest co-host. Coach Snedeker's coming back. Long-time believer. Coach Snedeker, you don't know this. I'm going to tell you right now, your original episode is still in the top 5 of downloads on our metrics, man. So the people love Coach Snedeker.
No,
and
makes it a literal classroom requirement for his kids.
Yeah. In matter of fact, that's what we need to start doing. Is everybody has to download every week. I love it. But hey, this is exciting. We've got Coach Snedeker the first time with a co-host. We got me running this studio for the first time with Donovan on his honeymoon, as Ryan liked to mention, at his mom's house in Florida. And if anything goes wrong, I'm going to apologize. I'm going to do my best with this stuff. And another first is our guest is going to come on and talk special teams. We have not talked special teams at all on here. It's been a pretty offensive-dominated show because Ryan's lazy. Ryan has helped out with a little bit of defense. And now he's brought us a guy to talk about special teams. I'm excited. So we thank everybody for coming on. Ryan, let's get into it. Why don't you introduce our guest to everybody?
For the record, I've had the most guests come on here. So even if it's offense or defense, for the record. But we'll continue on. We'll leave. Yeah, go back and count. We'll leave it at that. Next thing, though, I'm excited. I'm jacked for this one. This was the PC's one of my guys from, now it's been about 10 years, right?
Man, it's been a while.
It's been a minute. But Parker, man, I think I was his first person he got to meet when he came to Ohio Dominican, which was I don't know if that's
what an introduction,
or if that's
it was a summer workout. I can tell you it was a summer workout.
Yeah, you can leave it to yourself, PC.
Yeah, no doubt.
Time out. Did Ryan have a cutoff T-shirt on?
1,000%.
100%. Just curl little bitty weights, screaming with a cutoff. I could see it. All right, keep going. I'm sorry.
the thing is, I didn't even introduce Parker. Didn't I say to you like my nickname? I introduced myself as?
I'm Shifty 50.
Legend, baby. That's a legendary name still.
I think he gave himself that nickname, though, is the only issue.
I probably did, honest to God. But here's the thing. Parker, right after Ohio Dominican, he went into coaching at Lancaster High School. And then he abruptly moved out of our apartment when we lived together and went and took a coaching job at Tiffin University, which they obviously excelled greatly there under Coach Reiser, who was with him at ODU. His time, though, we have to speak about Triway, where he graduated from high school. This dude is a legend in Ohio high school football. That is a fact. Third all-time in most passing yards, right? He's third all-time, so he's smoking Brendan. Tell him that. Let Brendan know that, Stout. And then second, he got the most touchdowns in a single playoff game in history. Number one, not just like Parker ain't just somebody that's just walking on the street. People in Ohio, just everyone knows him.
Coach, did you ever play a playoff game at Arlen Field?
I did.
I went and watched you.
That would have been my senior year. No, my junior year. Year against Kent.
So I happened to listen. Go ahead, Ryan. Put your diapers back on. But I'm just hearing the Triway, and I wanted to put two and two together. I actually was at that playoff game, so I actually saw you play that night.
That's kind of weird because I'm as old as Parker, so diapers wouldn't have been on then. I'm actually older than Parker.
So I'd never put two and two together. I was there that night. It was a great game.
Yeah, it didn't end well for the Titans, but
it didn't.
But the Carmichael family is legendary in the Titan area and Triway area. But now Parker's at USF. Look, I'm not going to go over every position that you had, PC. I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your journey to kick us off.
For sure. First off, I obviously appreciate you guys having me on here. I've been watching some of the podcasts and following along as much as I could. So it's big time to get on here with you guys. But yeah, like you guys mentioned, I played quarterback. I was at Triways where I graduated from, went to Ohio Dominican, obviously where I was teammates with Sayers. There I got to meet Coach Chris Reiser. He was my quarterback's coach and my offensive coordinator my last 2 years. So he has a part in my journey here. But when I graduated, I wasn't sure if I wanted to go the college route. I was torn. I had thought about it, or if I wanted to go the high school route and try and become a head coach eventually. So I ended up going the high school route. I went to Lancaster High Schools where I got my first teaching job. I taught high school algebra, freshman algebra there. It was awesome. I loved Lancaster, the Principal Burry there. A lot of great coaches. Corey Kahn was the baseball coach. He's influenced how I coach. I absolutely loved my time at Lancaster. But I knew that I wanted to get back to college and at least give it a shot while I could.
Even though we beat them when I was at Pick North, though, we scraped them. And then he had to come home and see us.
I wasn't going to go there.
Yeah, we won't go there either, but we'll keep moving on. But I appreciate
Can we talk about that old press box where it's like Beverly Hills? Whoa.
No doubt.
Swinging just up there.
Just as the wind was swaying, you were swaying. But from Lancaster, Coach Reiser had gotten the head coaching job at Tiffin as I was graduating. So him and I had touched base, and he wanted me to come be a GA for him. And I knew that was the route that I was trying to go. So I jumped at that opportunity, and he got my foot in the door at this college thing. And I was a GA there, and I was coaching the running backs at the time. Ended up staying there for 3 seasons, took on some more responsibility, became the special teams coordinator there, which is where I got my start in special teams. And then from there, I actually got a GA job here at South Florida, which was originally a special teams GA job. I was on special teams when I got down here for about 2 weeks, and I actually ended up getting moved to offense. So I've been here since last January, so 14 or 15 months. I was working with the tight ends a year ago, and then just this offseason, I've gotten bumped over to work with the receivers. So I've been super fortunate to be around so many great coaches here, but not just here, along my journey in general, from Coach Reiser to Corey Kahn at Lancaster to Tyler Johns at Tiffin to Coach Golish here to LaDamian Washington, who's the guy I work for now. So many guys that have shaped my style and my philosophy and my beliefs as a coach to really influence young people, because that was my goal as a 9th grade math teacher. And that's my goal now, is to influence young people and try and be a positive male influence however I possibly can to these guys.
I love them hearing it. I think it's about time for that most famous segment, the Pick Six segment. We get the extreme privilege of partnering with Storied Rivals for this segment. And Ryan, go ahead and let everybody know about Storied Rivals.
We're rocking the shirt from Storied Rivals today.
Dominate the day.
Dominate the day. It's actually one of my favorite shirts now that I own.
I've got a couple. They're comfy.
Nice material that it's made out of. I couldn't tell you. It might be cotton, nylon. I don't know what it is, but
it's not.
It is fire though. But the Pick Six segment is powered by Storied Rivals. Sports media, championships, friendships, and life lessons are among the most meaningful part of the athletic competition. We are passionate about preserving them by offering the most unique highlight experience available.
And Storied Rivals delivers your team's content with services designed to change the way you experience these unforgettable moments now and for a lifetime. Storied Rivals now offers a complete team apparel and player shop customizable to your program. Contact us by email at info@storiedraivals.com to schedule an appointment with a member of our team. I'm still waiting. We just finished up our team shop. I'm waiting for them All Blacks. Aaron, send me them All Blacks. Thank you. Can't wait. Here we go.
You said that last time, so he still hasn't sent them?
Hasn't come in yet. I can't wait.
Right.
And the first immediately when the All Blacks come in, I'm gonna give a little demo for everybody so they can see it.
I hope you do not wear those All Blacks that are super tight. You guys got all compression stuff.
I'm gonna be compressioned, flexing on you with touchdowns when we 7-on-7 in July. Get to the first question.
I would hope so. But let's continue on. Here's what I'm going to say, Parker. This one was a big question this week in my classroom. Would you rather? Why is that funny? It's a classroom. It obviously has
everything. Your questions on the script are always blank, and they're always from the classroom. I want to go ahead.
This one's fire. Would you rather have more time or more money?
More time, of course. Man, with more time, you can make more money if you want to, first of all.
Ooh.
I like that.
But with more time, there's so much more to do. There's not enough time in the day already. More time, 1,000%.
Especially you at college now. There's definitely not enough time in the day, is there?
More time, for sure, more time.
Sned, we round robin this now, so you're up.
All right. Hey, going right with that, more time. You got all the stuff you got to do with film, recruiting, all the stuff that comes with being a college coach. You get that little bit of time to yourself. What is your guilty pleasure television show that you're going to go to, mindless TV, to just motor down for the night?
All right. Oh. Hey, PC, be careful.
Man, I think the easy choice for me is probably Friends. If Friends is on, I can pop that on. You can be locked in. You don't have to be locked in. You can get some work done. You can fall asleep. I think it's Friends for me.
Friends guy. All right.
Hey, I don't know.
I was scared where that question could have went. I was nervous where PC could have took that question.
I don't know why I thought of this. All right. The old school Fear Factor show. Put that in your mind. One, I'm going to ask you, would you ever go on the old Fear Factor show? Yes or no?
Man, that's tough. I don't know that I would, because a couple things that really bother me are heights. And there's always something to do with heights on that show. And then I really don't mess with snakes. And I feel like they're always grabbing snakes or putting their hands in snakes.
That was the second part of my question, because they vet people, right? What is the one thing that you're worried about? And I just have those pictures in my mind of like the snakes and the spiders crawling over people. Nope, that's a wrap for me, dog. So Coach ain't going on a Fear Factor tonight.
I'd watch you three do it, though. I'd be cheering you guys on.
I'm not doing it. No, there ain't no way.
Yeah,
no way.
Hey, give me a few Michelob Ultras and I'm on.
Give him a few waters and I think he's on. I think he would go regardless.
Oh, all right, Sayers.
Parker.
What do you got next?
Okay. We always talk about what we're best at, what we're good at, or whatever, like whatever you're best at, right? I talked to you, I messaged you this week. Hey, what's a good thing that you're good at talking about, Parker? What's the number one thing that you feel like you're bad at in the coaching game that you could improve on?
It's a great question.
The number one thing that I'm bad at.
Someone asked me this the other day, and I did the same thing, Parker. I was
Man,
like,
that's tough.
So about ODU just not wanting to admit what they're bad at.
No, it's not even that. It's like from a coach's perspective, like I'm always trying to get better. I'm always trying to attack my weaknesses for sure. Man, I don't know if it's what I'm bad at, but like right now, like I just switched positions, right? I'm working with the receivers. So for me, like I'm trying to attack that and how I can get better at coaching the receivers, learning from Coach Washington, watching some tape on my own, whether it be our own guys, NFL guys. Like to me, I'm constantly trying to figure out what I'm bad at the time, or if I slip up in one way or another, or if I catch myself, if it's at practice where I feel like I could get better at an area, like just being aware of that and trying to attack that one thing at a time. Holistically, man, I don't know. That's a tough question. Maybe I'm not self-reflecting enough.
See,
I mean, it's tough. I think your role,
Parker having a journal every night. He's a write in.
Man, I take a lot of notes. Like I really do.
If you think about it, like everybody has a deficiency somewhere. Like right now, if like you had to take over a program and all of a sudden, blah, 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 like coach is gone and you had to fill in, there's any one of us on here that would have a deficiency somewhere on the field. You know what I mean? And
I'll say this just because I was working with the tight ends, like my deficiency right now from a schematic standpoint would be like the run game, right?
It makes sense. Like on the flip side, for me, like my background has very much always been offensive line, run game centered. So the last 2-3 years for me has been like learning wide receiver fundamentals, like coaching wide receivers and doing individual drills with them. Like it totally makes sense. And that's why I try to hire, people around me that can help in those aspects. And that's what I talked to a younger coach the other day. And it was just, they shared about how in the future they want to be a coordinator. And so I challenge them now to be, you got to start branching out and you need to start learning about position groups other than what you're comfortable in.
No doubt.
Right? Other than just learning defense and learning offensive trends, you need to start learning about offensive units. Could you coach running backs? Could you coach tight ends? Could you coach the wide receivers? Could you coach quarterbacks if you had to? Like there might be a day you have to, and you have to be competent enough to get through the day at least. And that's my big challenge. That's
defense and offense, right? Like I've always been on the D line. Like I've always been front and center D line. I did linebackers when I first started at Northland, right? I've really just grinded mainly on the back side of things and trying to understand coverage and trying to understand when we could be in the best situation. And to be honest, working with Stead probably was the first time that I started learning the back end of things when I was at Pick North. And I was like, what? We want to be in cover 3 because the eyes would be in the backfield? What do you mean? Why would their eyes be in the backfield? How does that work? You know what I mean? So like just learning those back end things is just tough.
For sure. One of the best things you can do is change positions and have to coach something brand new, which Parker, with everywhere you've been. Like as soon as you get a new challenge.
That's what I was just going to say. Like I started with running backs, I played quarterback my whole life. I started with running backs. So that was a new challenge. Never played on special teams till my last year of college. And Coach Ricer was like, hey, you're going to be the special teams coordinator. So that was a challenge. I get down here. I'm with the tight ends. I'm with the receivers now. Like I've actually never even coached the position I played, which for me is challenging now at times. But like in the long run, like when I am a head coach, man, I will have coached every position on offense, excluding the offensive line probably. But to me, it's what makes a well-rounded coach is being able to attack different positions and coach different positions and be able to be versatile and at least have the background knowledge of it, whether you're the best at it or you strive to be the best at it, obviously, but at least have the background and to be able to do that and to lead an offense or a program or whatever the case is.
I agree, man. I think it's a constant pursuit that just never ends. You're always gonna sit in this cycle of wherever your role is and wherever it's going on, and you add in the trends of football. And I think we're all in it. If you really love this game, you're gonna find yourself in that. So
it never stops, though. You're right, Kyle. Like it does not stop every year. Like I'm on my 5th year now, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna be rolling. We are in aspects, but at the same time, it's like, oh, we could be better here. Oh, we could be better there. Oh, we could be better there. You're laying in bed. I feel like as a coach, if you're laying in bed,
I'm coming up on year 13 and still going back into different things.
Year 13.
Still like on the offensive line side, not even mentioned. So there's still the solidifying and growing from the run game offensive line side, but then you add into it, I'm constantly looking at program, our system, our passing concepts. Then it's like me, a lot of times Roy does a great job, and Roy's a phenomenal receiver coach for us. But like in the winter and spring, it's very busy for his business and what he does. So I understand that like winter, spring, I got to coach wide receivers a lot. Like I got to get them in and do the fundamentals, do a lot of catching drills, do a lot of like this and that to cover. And I know when I got him back in the summer, I got him. So I wear many hats, man. One minute I'm coaching O-line, tight ends. 1 minute I'm coaching receivers. Brennan, our quarterback, and I have a great relationship, and we meet and talk about a lot of stuff. So it's a cool hat to wear, but it's definitely been a lot of nights sitting at the computer, clinicking and calling people and learning, and it just never ends. And
it's good. It makes you grow, though. It's good.
Yeah, it does. And I pray my wife never finds receipts on things I've spent to learn, but on the pursuit of perfection, babe. Go Lions. All right, Sned, what you got for him?
All right. So I grew up in a very different style offense, I think, than probably what you did, but our one commonality would be having played the quarterback position as an undersized kid for that position. Yeah. Man, I called you 5'5", so hold on.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, it was coming. You knew it was coming. So you have a kid, and we're Division IV at Jonathan Alder. We're not always going to have that 6-foot-plus kid at quarterback. You're coaching the quarterback position. You're calling the offense. Give me your two best passing concepts for coaching an undersized quarterback.
I think quick game is good. I think anytime you can live in the quick game world with him. So whether it be like a slants, very simple, but can be a super effective concept, whether it be in a 3x1 set or a 2x2 set. I think slants is a good way to get the ball out of his hands. And you can, with quick game, you can pre-snap read it a little bit. Obviously, you're going to have to read some stuff post-snap, but the pre-snap stuff helps with the height stuff for sure. I found that out as I was a quarterback. The better you can be pre-snap, the more you can help yourself out post-snap and predicting things and stuff. But I think slants are something like a stick concept where it's two versions or two different types of outs that are married together, where you can have a stick option on that inside guy. But two right off the top of my head, both that are quick game, should be often completions. You can read them out pre-snap, like I said, just quick ways to get the ball out of his hands. The other thing is like any perimeter touches and screens that you can have that aren't necessarily even involving the offensive line, but whether it be an RPO type where you've got a run and then you've got that quick screen on the outside, or you're truly just throwing that quick screen or that bubble or that now screen. I think those are quick, easy ways to get the ball out of the hands. You see a completion, that's confidence. You know what I mean? If you can build the confidence of that guy, he's obviously your quarterback for a reason. So if you can get him rolling, he's probably a good player. So important to get those easy completions, especially early in a situation, early in a game.
I like that. We've been heavy on the screen the last 2 seasons too.
That's
just different ways trying to get the ball out.
Script for success. Ask your quarterback what he likes. What do you like the most? Let him rank things. I've said it on here before, and I've listened to other podcasts, but Brendan and I will literally go through all of our situations, and I'll say, here are my 6 to 7 or whatever we have in each situation. I said, rank them 1 to 6, 1 to 5, like you're the most comfortable, best you like, or you can complete to whatever. And what do you need more reps of or whatever? I love it. I think has been one of the things that we started last year and I'll continue to do. And I've heard college coaches talk about it. Like I just heard the SMU head coach talk about it on the Dan Casey podcast, and just asking your kid, like, rank these. How do you like them? Your best to your least? Is there something you're missing? And I love it. And I think that's a great thing. What you said about the rhythm and success early is a big thing for not just quarterbacks, but you'd be surprised, man, receivers and other people too. If you can get a main receiver a couple catches early versus like he ain't catching the ball the first time by quarter 3, which I've been guilty of before, the better it becomes. Coach, outside of where you're at now, who are maybe some of the coaches or teams you follow up with today to keep up with the best trends or to learn? It could be college, it could be NFL, high school, whatever. Who do you really love diving into to learn more about the game and stay current?
For sure. What we do here offensively is unique.
Fast.
And not a ton of teams in college football are doing exactly what we do. Our head coach Golish was at Tennessee previously. They still have Coach Heupel, who's the head coach there. So I watch a lot of their stuff just to kind of see what they're doing from that perspective. As far as like NFL guys or NFL teams, I honestly watch it more situationally than I do maybe one team or another from that standpoint. Now, if something catches your eye, whether it be a quarterback design run or a certain screen that was schemed up or a certain red zone concept, then you may like dive into that team. But we have PFF, so we're fortunate to be able to use a bunch of different filters, and we can watch all 32 teams, all of their red zone stuff if we want.
Crazy. The moment my life changed for me was the moment I got my hands, I won't say how, on a cut up of NFL film.
Yeah.
And to see the all 22 of an NFL team from week to week, you could start to dive in. You could start to understand the personnel packages they were trying to do and what they were trying to do. If I could ever get my hands on all 22 from all around, I don't know what I would do. But it is amazing because you start to see what the goal was and what they're doing. Like when you watch it live, like you're just seeing it live, you see it happen. But then when you watch it from a cut up, you're like, oh my gosh, they're in this personnel grouping this many times. They're trying to accomplish this. Like you see what's going on a little bit more.
For sure. For sure.
That's like our DC, our defensive analyst, because he doesn't want to get paid. Coach Steph, he's the all 22 breakdown. And if you look at our Google Drive, we probably have every playbook from Alabama all the way through to some smaller Division II schools. And they just have access to so much stuff, which is so sweet because we are able to look at that stuff. And we're just like, it blows your mind how in depth too some defensive playbooks are at the college level.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's cool because you can watch any type of situation. You can pretty much make whatever type of cut up you want with whatever teams, however many teams. And then typically, obviously, you follow the trend of who was good this year, right? Washington threw the ball all over the place. You start to watch their stuff. USC with Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams, you watch their stuff. You see the Michigans and how they run the ball and stuff like that. It's a rabbit hole. It's a good rabbit hole to have, but it's a rabbit hole for sure, especially when the full-time coaches here are on the road, or you have that kind of that time where it's recruiting and those guys are gone and you have a little bit more time to yourself in the office. And those are the times that we can do some of those extra studies and watch some of that stuff and just see where it takes you sometimes too.
It's hard. It's information overload. Like you have to constantly, between clinics, Twitter, access to film, whatever it is, the constant like not falling in love with everything. Does it fit my personnel? Does it fit what we're doing? The understanding of you can only do so much, and honestly too, you have to take a grain of salt. I watch football stuff like it's like Instagram and chicks. Like you're always going to see the best version of everything, right?
Yeah.
So you got to take it for understanding. That's great.
That's a heck of a comparison.
But it's true though. Like any one of us.
You said your wife watches this every week.
That's fine. I didn't talk about my wife, but seriously though, like anybody can be like, this is the concept.
The best.
And they put up
algorithm is a little different.
They put up like one explosive play for a touchdown, and everyone's, oh my god, there it is.
The best version you're gonna get of a chick is looking at your wife's Instagram. Don't do that to her.
I don't try to twist this, Ryan. I just was building with, is that an analogy or metaphor? I'm a history guy. It's an analogy, right?
Simile.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. We brought a science guy in here to be smarter than us.
Simile uses like or as.
So this is great. What's great about me having control of the whole show now? I almost cussed. I did it. Here you go. I love this topic, special teams. You think I wouldn't, just like Coach said. Surprise! Nobody know this. When I was at Wadsworth High School, Coach Dennison calls me into the coach's office. This was my first year on the staff. It's literally like 2 days before camp goes, you're the special teams coordinator. I'm like, great. Only thing I've ever done in special teams is PAT field goal, like just the fat kid lineman that just had to sit in there and block. That was a big, wide opening experience. But it's crazy because I go back to Coach Dennison, and we always talked about, as a team, if you could win 2 out of 3 of the phases, you have a great chance to win the game. And so we had goals from offense, defense, and special teams. And we really communicated to our kids that 2 of 3, if we go in 2 out of 3 phases, we have a great chance to win almost any time. And so I think this is fantastic to finally dive into talking about special teams. If you're a young coach, if you're somebody that has aspirations to climb really high, man, you got to really dive into special teams. The way you could really separate yourself and change the game. And there's so many different ways to even do just punt, for example. Special teams is a great thing. If I were a young guy, I would be diving in right now. Let's say, this is interesting too for me, I get a lot of people that want to reach out and want to join a varsity staff. And maybe we don't have the opening yet. Maybe they don't have coached a lot. Special teams is a great way to get on a staff and prove a worth and to add value. If I were a guy trying to beat down the door at any level, special teams might be the way. And so I'm excited to have Coach Carmichael come on. I'll start off with the first question, Coach. What are some of the goals, stats, or measurables you use to determine success or a winning performance on special teams?
For sure. Just to piggyback off your last thought, though, first, like, that's why I'm here, is because of special teams, to be honest. Like,
yeah,
I didn't really know what was going on at Tiffin when I first got there with special teams. I got to learn from Mark Spencer, who I know was at Gahanna at one time with you guys. But I just picked his brain, just tried to figure out what I could, got a grasp for it, but not really. Then I took on the punt team, so I really had to learn it. Then I took on a bigger role with all 4, but that's how I got hired here, was because of my special teams role and value. So I can't stress that enough. Like, it's all a part of the game. It's all football. It gets pushed to the side a lot, but man, it wins and loses games, literally. So I can't stress the importance of that enough. But no, goals and measurables and stuff, I think there's a lot of different ways you can do it. I think the generic, to the naked eye, the way to do it is, man, it's field position, right? Special teams is a battle for field position. It's punts, it's kickoffs, it's returns to those units. It's literally all about field position and preventing scores and setting yourself up for scores. The simple way, the way that I think everybody has their own version is like a kicking and punting DSA, basically a kicking and punting formula that you track post game, that basically lets you know your kickoff in comparison to their kickoff. Did you end up plus or minus? Meaning basically where the ball ended up on the field, as far as, was it on the 25, on the 30, versus how many times they kicked it off and where the ball ended up. Were you in the positive or were you in the negative at the end of the day? So you're comparing the kickoffs, and then same thing with punt. What was the field position after you punted? What was the field position after they punted? So it takes the net of both of those, not that you punted at 60 yards, but they had a 30-yard return. Like, it takes the net of that and basically helps you lay it out from a numerical standpoint of, hey, did we actually win the kickoff numbers, the kickoff DSA? Did we actually win the punt DSA? I think everybody, that's the starting point of, they have their own version of that to say numerically, did they win that or did they not? But I think it comes down to field position. Then you look at like game breakers. Did they have a game breaker? Did they have a big return? Did we give up a big return? Did we give up a blocked punt? Did we have a game breaker? Did we have a big kickoff return? Did we recover an onside kick? Was there some way that the momentum got swayed? Because that's what special teams is. When you have a big play on special teams, whether it's for or against you, it oftentimes is a direct reflection of what the end of the game is going to be, what the score is going to be at the end, because there's so much momentum, there's so much field position gained, there's so much that you gain from that as an offense, as a defense. How were you able to manage that? Was it good for you? Was it bad for you? Did you get out of the game without giving up any big plays on special teams? Did you get any big plays on special teams? So I think those are, in a nutshell, the ways that you can look at how you did preventing scores. And
serious question. I don't think I've ever asked this to anybody. When you look at punt return at the higher levels, how hard it is, like it's so hard to even get a return. what's considered a good return outside of fielding the ball? Like, obviously,
For
field
sure.
the ball, don't lose any yards, because sometimes that's the coverage. It's in your face. Like, in your opinion,
Yeah.
what's a good return? If you actually get the ball and get to run with it, what's
Yeah.
considered a good return?
Yeah, to me, the way that I looked at punt block all the time, we called it punt block to give the mindset of, hey, we're going to go after it. We're going to be aggressive. So the first things that you want on punt block is you want to try and affect the punt, right? As much as you can affect it. Doesn't mean it's going to be a blocked punt. It might mean that you put pressure on him and the guy shanked it and it went out of bounds at 12 yards. So can you affect the punt is the starting point. If you can, awesome. The next thing is whatever we do, we have to hand the ball to the official, meaning we got to field this punt clean somehow or some way. To answer your specific question, man, I think anything from 5 to 10 yards, like that's, to be honest, this day and age, like it's icing on the cake. If you can secure the football, great. That's the most important thing. The second thing, if you can get a 5 or 10 yard return, awesome. That's 5 or 10 more yards the offense doesn't have to get. If you can get a 15, a 20, a 30-yard return, like, to me, now you're on the verge of one of those game breakers, because if you field it at the 35 and you get a 15-yard return, man, you're at midfield already. You know what I mean? So I think when you get up to those higher teens and 20s, that becomes like an explosive, just like an offensive play, but that becomes like an explosive because you're completely starting to turn the field position from that standpoint. Or if you field it on the 2-yard line, which you shouldn't really field it on the 2-yard line, but if you did and you got a 20-yard return, man, that's great. Or if you got a 5-yard return, you're at least not backed up as much now. You know what I mean? So I think it's all a little bit relative.
Coach Sned, man, get in here. Co-host Coach Sned. You had a lot of great questions written down. What do you got for this man?
I like the, just to go back to what you were saying, though, the differential approach, because you can put in that level of competition between your special teams too, just all the different phases as well. Just always trying to look for that competitive edge. I really like being able to put your punt team versus your punt return team, being able to actually map that out and see how it factors into your overall outcome. Big one that I had for you is just with your background, having coached in high school, Division II, now you're FBS Division I. So the amount of time that you can place on special teams it's tough at a school like Jonathan Alder, where all of our kids are playing both sides of the ball. They're going to be playing on different special teams. How would you take some of the stuff that you guys do at your level and try to adjust to be able to put importance on special teams at the high school level? I'm lucky at Jonathan Alder. We got some kids that love running down the field and murdering people. They just love contact.
Yeah.
But to try to teach the intricacies of that phase, what's your best suggestion for a school our size being able to put something like that into place?
For sure. I think the first thing is, as you as the head coach, is you putting an emphasis and you putting an importance on special teams, right? It can't just be the special teams coordinator that's emphasizing everything. It can't be just him that's got the energy. It can't be him that's trying to run every drill, especially at a high school level where he's trying to do it for everybody, right? It's got to be energy and excitement and like a real emphasis from the top all the way down. It's got to be buy-in from the assistant coaches. And then it's honestly like it's stealing time. Like you've got to be so organized and so detailed as a coach that as you're walking out to practice, you can grab a kid and say, hey, I noticed on KOR yesterday, or I noticed on KOR from the film that I was watching that they might do this. And at your position, you've got to combat that with this, or you've got to adjust your drop with this. And you're literally doing that as you're walking out to practice. Or it's, hey, they're in stretch lines. How can I give my punt returner a tidbit on how this guy's going to punt him the ball? I think it's stealing time like that. That's where I found myself getting super creative at Tiffin, because I got a ton of meeting time at Tiffin. And man, I still felt like it wasn't enough. So it's grabbing guys and finding ways to give them those coaching points. And then while you're in that drill work, like having the emphasis or having whatever you're trying to drill and making sure they understand it. And then making sure you're coaching that specifically. Like you can't get caught up in other things. If you're doing a KOR drill and you're worried about their drop, you can't get caught up in other things that are going to take away from coaching that point up. So you've got to be super detailed and be super organized from that standpoint, because you can't afford to waste time, especially at the high school level, when you may only get 3 minutes of drill work while you're getting lined up for the full rep.
And like, you're trying to grab skill guys and get your kickoff return while O-line's doing this thing.
1,000%. So
and so any minute, This is the great battle I think I witnessed with special teams, and what I really wanted to ask, and this is the most important thing I want to leave here today. And I don't know, but you only get so much time. Head coaches, and there's the nature of the game. You only get so much time to practice special teams in that daily practice plan, right? So how much individual special teams do you do versus team? Like, how do you balance that? Is it more individual special teams to learn how to avoid, rip, contact, whatever it is, all those different drills you do? Do you focus more on individual early in the year and then it becomes less individual in the season? Because I think in the nature of it, when you think about high school coaches, which a lot of people who probably listen to us are, by the end of it, when you get into season, I feel like it turns into a lot of just the full team look. So that's what I really wanted to just ask, because like, how do you balance that, or how do you make that work?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a progression, right? Obviously, we get spring ball, so we're heavy technique driven and spring ball and all that stuff. You guys don't get that. So I think honestly, I don't know exactly how your summers work now, but if you can steal some indie work like pods, if you can steal 5 minutes while you're doing before you do offense or defense and kind of start to implement that, I think that's when you do the drill work. I think in fall camp is when you try and do some of that drill work, especially early as you're building into your scheme of whatever you're running. But then in season, like obviously it's got to be so scheme driven because you're trying to win a game every week. So you got to make sure that you're prepared for whatever they're going to throw at you. So I think for sure in season, like it's more scheme driven. I think if your fundamentals are truly lacking and you're noticing that, man, I think you got to address that right away. And if it means you do a little bit less schematically, man, you like at the end of the day, you got to win one-on-one battles, and you got to win with technique, and you got to win with effort. And especially on special teams, if you can create that edge on special teams, you can take advantage of it. So I think it's naturally going to have to be a more team than it is more drill work during the season. But I think you need to find ways and get a consistent schedule of, hey, maybe on Mondays you do a little special team circuit where it's 4 different stations and you're hitting 4 different things that can carry over to your special teams. Maybe it's like offensive guys getting tackling drills, or maybe it's defeating a block, or maybe it's footwork on punt that you can work that a lot of guys are going to have to use. But I think if you can build in like on a Monday or a Tuesday, the ability to get in a little drill work, maybe you just rotate the special team each week where, hey, this week we're going to do some kickoff fundamentals and we're not going to touch that for another 3 or 4 weeks because we're not able to. But next week we can work on our punt block fundamentals. So it's prioritizing just like anything else and finding ways to get creative and sneak time in and sneak coaching in however you can.
With that, what's your thoughts on EDDs, your everyday drills? Because you got to have some fundamental stuff. But what drives me a little bit nuts about EDDs is that you have to be specific to who you're playing that week. Like, how much of your time is spent on these everyday things versus getting more specific with the technique versus your opponent?
Yeah, I think everyday drills with special teams, that can be unique. I think there's different ways that you can do that. I think, like you said, you're going to have to address that with whatever opponent you're playing. To me, like punt's the most important thing, though, like the most important thing. So you have to stress punt. You have to stress punt footwork, hand placement, hat placement, striking, getting rid of the defender. So you're always going to spend more time on punt. So err on the side of spending your everyday drills on punt. You know what I mean? The next thing is like kickoff. Like you got to be able to cover a kick. You like if you can't cover a kick, especially in high school, it takes one dynamic returner to make 1 or 2 guys miss in the back and they're gone and it's 7 points already. So I think with everyday drills, you got to be consistent with it, and you got to have a plan in your own head of how you want to progress that throughout the season. Maybe it is the exact same every week, but also with special teams, when you don't get to hit everything, maybe your everyday drill is the thing that changes every week because you can rotate what you're working on.
And on a lighter side, the best thing is the game plan and make sure you never have to punt and you only got to do a kickoff return once and then it's game over.
There you go.
Well, when Parker was quarterback in high school, that was him. And when he was a quarterback, they never had to punt. So that's the good thing. But I think the interesting thing for me is like talking to high school head coaches and like how much they prioritize special teams. And that's one thing that we've done at Northland is I have a rule, and our kids all know it. If you don't start on special teams, you're not starting on offense or defense. It's just that simple. And it's really changed the game for us because the past 2 years we've had a dynamic returner in Zion and Makai. Those guys, like Zion was leading the entire nation according to Max Preps, which is obviously not that accurate all the time. But in kickoffs and punt returns, which was huge in just touchdowns. Now, when you're at the college level, Parker, how much do you guys try to avoid putting your starters on special teams compared to like us at high school?
Man, to be honest, like when I was at Tiffin, that was the one thing that Coach Reiser, like he emphasized the same thing as you did, Sayers. Like our starters were on a minimum one, but most of them were on at least two. And like our best players were on punt. And it's very much the same here. To be honest, like we stress special teams as much as any place I've ever seen stress special teams. So like our best players are playing on special teams. Like our linebackers are punt guys. You know what I mean? Our safeties are guys running down on kickoff. Like all of that stuff. Obviously, I think naturally defensive guys translate to special teams a little more naturally than offensive guys just because they know how to tackle, they know how to defeat blocks and all of that stuff. But man, we have receivers that are missiles on punt team. Like running backs are also on punt team as frontline guys. So we stress it to everybody, like starters, not starters. And then we also have guys that are core four teamers that don't play at all on offense and defense, but they affect the game as much as anybody because they get to play 20 or 30 plays a game on just special teams, and we count on them. Like we need them on special teams because they know the scheme, they give the best effort, they know where to go, they know how to get there, they know the technique. So it's a variety, but man, nobody gets a free pass from us to not be on special teams. It's too important.
Coach, I'm a selfish dude on here. I'm always going to lead this podcast with something for myself. You made the switch to wide receivers, and you expressed to yourself how that's a new switch to you yourself. And I don't know how you feel about it, but like with me being new coaching wide receivers, I think one of the hardest things to coach is stemming routes. It's easy to talk about releases and catching drills and all those different things. What are some of the details or tidbits you would teach wide receivers on stemming routes?
That's a good question. I think stemming routes can become a little bit of a cute or artsy thing where guys get a little bit carried away with it.
Yeah.
To me, it's honestly pretty cut and dry. Like stemming routes, you need to be stemming for a reason and for a purpose. And like it's leverage. As a route runner, you're always trying to gain and then maintain leverage. So that's all a stem is. If you have leverage, you don't really need to stem a route, right? If I'm running a slant and the corner is outside of me for a very generic, simple term, I don't need to stem in because I'm already inside of that guy. I've already got leverage to run my inside route. Versus if I'm running a slant and he's slightly inside of me, then I've got to attack at least his midline, but more so his inside shoulder or his inside half because it's too hard to cross his face at my break point. I need to try and cross his face with my stem, if that makes sense.
It's been interesting to talk about.
Parker's got way smarter since I lived with him. Holy hell.
Which is to come across. I watched this one clinic, and it was about a golden rule about leverage. And the defender is where you want to go. You want to pull him to you. If the defender is inside, keep him there. So it was very much about when you talk about leverage, it was talking about either pulling the defender to you to win back inside, or if he's inside of you, stemming to keep him there to win back outside. Pull him to you or take it to you. So I just wanted to take a minute to try to continue my, getting better as an offensive lineman to wide receiver guy every now and then.
No,
Parker, working with the receivers, you still got a cannon? Are you still slinging the balls to them each day?
Of course he is.
Man, I'll be honest. I don't know that I ever had a cannon, to be quite honest. I'm not sure that was my greatest strength as a quarterback. But
he's like Uncle Rico out there just flinging slants.
I do just naturally. Coach Washington's like, all right, hey, you're going to throw here. I'm like, yeah, I figured.
He's got that look at that mustache. He's got a little Uncle Rico vibe going on right now. I could see it.
I love it.
Nice. Ned, go ahead and ask one of your questions because Sayers gonna come up with shit today.
All right, I'm on. I got to look at what I want to, where I want to go
Kyle.
next. Just looking through some of the stuff that I had lined up. So you're now working with receivers and being high school coaches. If we have kids that want to play at the college level, we want to get them ready as best we can. What are, in today's game, the best skills you're seeing receivers coming to you with, and where are they most deficient?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, like, naturally everybody wants this super fast guy that just runs by everybody, which we do. That's great. But that's also not always the case. You know what I mean? Like, for us, it's the ability to run routes, the knowledge to run routes, more so than just straight speed. It's like that, it's burst and ability to change direction and that short area quickness. Like, that's more important. Obviously, the top end speed is something that we look at for sure. But then another important thing that we look at is like the routes that they're running and the tops of those routes, to look at the hip flexibility, right? The ability in their back to help them bend, their knee drive, because that's going to help them be powerful and push out of the ground. I think all of those things play into it, but I think the big thing is like that hip flexibility. Can he make a 90-degree turn? Can he make a 180-degree turn? And when he makes those turns, can he accelerate out of them? The acceleration going along with the burst and that short area quickness, can they get in and out of those routes in an efficient manner? The flexibility stuff also plays into leading up to getting out of that break point. How many steps do they have to take? Do they look natural doing it? Do they look unnatural doing those movements? So it's more about like the fluidity and the natural running ability than it is just the pure speed. And then obviously, man, what's he look like with his ball skills? Is he natural? Does he have natural ball skills? Does he attack the football? Does he catch it with his body, or does he use his hands and catch it out in front of his eyes? When it's up in the air, does he attack it, or does he wait for it to come down? So you group it in different things: ability to run, ball skills, all of that stuff. But to me, it's that flexibility, that fluidity, that sense of smoothness that you may not like categorize, but you can see it. You know what I mean? You can tell he's a smooth route runner and he gets in and out of those cuts.
I think I've listened to every single podcast you guys have done, which, by the way, like, the show started great. It's gotten even better as you guys went. Just props to you guys. But the number of syllables that have been dropped by Parker today has to be a record, right?
He's spitting game today, Dave. Here's my thing, though. I agree with it. The amount of kids that want to catch the ball on their body, like this in drills. And I try to, every time I see it, try to tell them, like, dude, we play at such a high level. You're going to have a defender on you when you try to catch the ball here.
You ain't never caught a ball in your life. You don't know what you're talking about. Get up out of here.
That's fine. All I have to do is coach how to catch the ball. I don't got to coach me catching the ball. I got to coach how to catch the ball.
Do you demonstrate the routes for them? I could never see your ass demonstrating routes. Ryan,
it'll be another great 7-on-7 where you get to see the perfections of us against you. So
looks like you have stilts on.
Listen, man, I'm an O-line guy. I'm not gonna deny it. Like, I've tried to grow in a lot of areas.
Number 72 back there, baby.
Yeah, I've tried to grow in a lot of areas, in a lot of different ways. But I'm gonna tell you right now, when we play, I'm gonna find a way to line up and try to smash this ball down your face if I can.
The best thing about Kyle is he'll lie to you and tell you he's not motioning, and then the first play sends a motion across.
I've got a quarterback.
I did love the 5 verts you guys threw against us first play last year. We were real ready for that.
Kyle always does that to us. He always wants to tell us he's not doing this.
Hey, just send them all deep. One of them will catch it.
Hey, Parker, Stout is the best at this.
Here we go.
He's not doing something.
I literally told you we would possibly be in 2 tight end sets and motion. I told you we would be.
He literally tells you, I'm not motioning, right? Like, we do ours is early in the summer. So I was like, all right, we don't have cover the motion. And I asked him.
We don't have cover the motion in.
Right?
Parker, here's the thing. I'm that guy that I know 7-on-7. I don't care. I'm a play action and motion and do stuff because I'm playing real football in 7-on-7s to get better. I don't care about the 7-on-7.
No, Kyle, it's okay. It's early, but when someone asks you directly, it's your friend that you're trying to help get better, you don't lie to them.
I didn't lie to you. I told you we would line up in 10, 11, and 12 personnel and motion and play action.
save it, sweetheart. I ain't your wife. Okay. But at the end of the day, Kyle lied and then first place sent a motion across. My kids like looked at me like, what are we?
Ryan, can you ask a serious question
coach,
to Coach?
Send that guy back.
Can you save the show and ask Coach a serious question tonight?
Parker, I would say, what's the number one atmosphere that you played in at USF? Because you were at Tiffin. Obviously, we know what the D2 atmosphere looks like. I was curious about that. That was going to be one of my questions on the Pick Six. But for me, I was like, okay, we've asked that probably multiple times to college coaches. But for you, obviously, being at D2, we know what the D2 looks like with the atmosphere. ODU is about the best you're going to get, a bunch of drunk dudes around the fence. But
ODU is the best you're going to get in D2.
Ashland's never mind. I ain't gonna talk about it.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to derail.
Save it here.
I didn't mean to derail. Continue.
I think Navy, without a doubt, was so cool. We played at Navy last year. That was obviously like a bucket list item for a lot of people to go to that stadium, and we got to play Navy. We won, so that was obviously a positive. That was super, super cool. We played in the Boca Raton Bowl. I thought that was a super cool atmosphere because it was a bowl game. We got iPads on the sidelines to watch some film.
Balled out too.
Just some different stuff with just being a bowl game. That was a super cool stadium to be in. And then I thought Memphis was really cool just because it's a bigger stadium. Obviously, they've been really good lately. And then just a side story, my first cool experience was we opened up at Western Kentucky. And just like you guys said, like being at a Division II school, like, not a lot of tailgating, not a lot of fans, mostly family there. And I can remember we were pulling up and it's just like Western Kentucky people everywhere, like flipping you off on the bus, like chanting stuff at you. And it was super, super cool because it was just like a moment of realization in the midst of being in the season. But my first away game of, man, this is awesome. This is what I've dreamed of. And that was at Western Kentucky. Not even like it was at an SEC school or a Big Ten school or anything like that, but they had like real fans that love Western Kentucky that hated us because they played us that day. And that was a super cool experience to get off the bus, walk through a sea of red, find our way to the locker room. And man, that was probably like a couple thousand people. Like it wasn't anything crazy, you know what I mean? But I think Navy was for sure the coolest spot.
I think we got to end on this. Coach Sned has a great question. Coach Sned, co-host, your number 7, I think, is a phenomenal question to think about and to generate answers for, because I'm with you. Go ahead and ask that.
You're talking about the generate excitement one?
Yes, absolutely.
So I know you talked a little bit about this earlier, but what approach do you use to generate excitement about special teams? Because I alluded to this a little bit earlier. I've been at places where special teams felt like a burden. I've been at places where kids were excited. Like I said, I'm blessed right now. I have kids that truly want to just go hit somebody and do what's best for the team. But if you don't necessarily have those kids that are intrinsically excited to be on special teams, what do you do to get them excited, get the team excited about that?
And let's be honest, this isn't changing. We're in an NIL environment at the college perspective that trickles down to the high school side of things. And there's a lot of players who think they are above special teams. You know what I mean?
For sure. No, I think that's a really good question, right? I feel like everybody involved in special teams is like, how can we make it more exciting? How can we get guys involved? Again, I know I hit it on earlier, but to me, it starts at the top. If the head coach is preaching it and teaching it and hands-on and as involved as anybody else, naturally the kids are going to be more attentive, more aware, more locked into whatever that situation is. So I think if that guy can lead the charge along with the special teams coordinator, whoever's running it, I think that's a big step. I think then whoever is leading that is like genuinely excited, right? Emphasizing things, getting excited on game day when you get a tackle inside of the 20 that doesn't seem super crazy, but that's a big deal, right? If you're jumping around on the sideline with them, if you're the first one to congratulate them running off the sideline, not just when you get a blocked punt, but when the punt protection is executed perfectly. If you're just as fired up because it was good protection, that then you could cover the punt down the field. So I think like genuine excitement about that, I think that is the most easy, real, actual way to get people excited. I think that's a really good way. I think
celebrating like the field positioning changes too. A lot of high school kids don't understand. Hey, we just pinned them inside the 20. That's a big freaking deal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then you show clips as much as you can of your games where special teams directly affected an outcome, where field position directly affected an outcome, as much as you guys can, pulling college tape or NFL tape of somebody muffing a punt, or they muffed a punt because the missile was right down there in his face and he could feel his presence, or different ways that, like, we use NFL tape all the time. We use our own college tape all the time. Different ways that you can, like, hey, here's the proof. Like, we in our team meetings on Mondays, we show different situations of bloopers from the weekend of like plays that happen, whether it be special teams, offense, or defense. But hey, this, because the field goal holder saved the bad snap and got the ball up, even though it was late, they kicked the game-winning field goal. Like, just emphasizing the importance of different situations and scenarios. I think that's an easy way to get buy-in. And then, of course, man, what do kids want? They want things. They want materialistic things. Not that you have to give them a Nike t-shirt because they play special teams, but if you can come up with some type of Player of the Week award, or have some type of slogan that you live by, and nothing like generic or corny or anything like that, but like a real slogan that you live by and they buy into, having a t-shirt because they were the special teams Player of the Week, or a bucket hat, or something like that, where you get them a sub or a king size candy bar, or different things that just emphasize and push the excitement level a little bit over the top. And you got to get creative and you got to get uncomfortable sometimes. But like our special teams coordinator, Sayers in college, Matt Merritt, right?
I was just about to talk about Coach Merritt, dude. That was the best stuff ever.
Dog tags and camouflaged like wash
bandanas,
rags, bandanas. Like, we got a little token every week that like had some saying with it that emphasized something that week, whether it was like the most important saying or not, no, but it got us to buy in and be on the same page. So,
but
like,
then the cooler too, the other part that he did that I was just about to bring up was naming all the special teams off of a military force, right? Like it was the Green Berets, right? Like one thing might be the SEALs. And we didn't call it kickoff. So if kickoff was named the SEALs in the game, we're yelling out, hey, SEALs are up, right? And it really like got us into the special forces stuff. And
I think some of those cool things.
Matt Merritt came into our meeting. You remember when he was in that
full camo,
face painted, right? Yes, dude walked in our meeting. I remember you're like in college, right? Like I'm probably coming in hungover or something.
Not everybody was, but yeah.
Yeah, I said I'm probably coming in, right? Parker was over there drinking a cup of tea, but as we're sitting there, this guy walks in, dude. He's in face paint, camoed out, then shows us the most fire video of a military scene, and then boom, we're right into special teams. Everybody's engaged, everybody's ready to roll, and that was just like Coach Merritt taking it on like in his own person as a special teams coordinator. And I feel like, I don't know, Parker, I'm not in the college level, but I feel like we practiced special teams a ton when we were at
OU. We did. I feel like we started every day with punt, it felt like.
Every day. No questions asked, dude. Punt team every single day.
The other good thing that I like is like having a special teams captain per unit, just to give a guy that's not your Mike linebacker or not your starting stud receiver, but like maybe another guy that gets a little bit of time but is a core special teams guy, like giving him ownership of that unit. And to just like, it makes him feel important. It gives him ownership. It gives him leadership. And then you're leaning on him. Hey, like our focus isn't here. Our focus isn't where it needs to be. Our energy is not where it needs to be. And obviously you're guiding that. But it also emphasizes one guy on special teams. And this is the guy. He's the kickoff guy. He's the kickoff return guy. Just to give a little bit of ownership to guys and make it feel important. And
I like trying to find a special teams captain. That's such a great idea.
Because
there's hands that get involved in it and players vote. Everybody has their own way of determining their captains are. I think that's a great idea. So, I hope everybody got in our inaugural episode of Talking Special Teams some great nuggets for 2024. We hope you take something for you.
And I got this guest. Put it on my tally.
You what? Yeah, this is your guest, Sayers. We got it. Congratulations. It's an hour later. Congratulations for ruining the ending. But hey, This is your tally. Yep. Congratulations. Hey, I want to thank Coach Ned for coming on and being the co-host. And always, anytime we ask Coach Ned to be on this show, he's just phenomenal, man. And the Jonathan Alder crew is a big crew that's close to our heart with everything we're doing. We all got our start together as friends, coaching together at Pick North. And it's great to see that relationship continue and cheer for each other. And if you get a chance, follow Coach Carmichael as he's on his journey. Coach, we wish you the best of luck. Follow 614 Headsets on Twitter or Instagram or even at our website at 614headsets.com. And thank you, everybody, for sticking with us. We haven't even hit a year yet, but I was just thinking today, we're very close to that 1-year birthday, and I'm excited about what we've done and where we're going. So thank you, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.
Appreciate it, guys. This was fun.